The dark business of consuming other people's pain. First time I ate someone's grief. It was an accident. My aunt had just died, and my cousin could not stop crying at the funeral. She clutched her mother's wedding ring so tight, her knuckles grew white. And when she hugged me, she pressed the ring into my palm, telling me she could not look at it anymore. And just to take it away, I slipped it into my pocket, thinking nothing of it. But on the drive home, a strange warmth spread through my gut, like I had swallowed a shot of good whiskey. It was not just heat, but something deeper, a loosening of some invisible knot, and by the time I parked outside my house, I felt light, almost euphoric. Later, my cousin called to thank me, saying she had slept through the night for the first time in weeks, and it felt like a weight had been lifted. I did not understand the connection until 2 weeks later when I was eating a cheap gas station cherry cupcake with that nuclear red icing that stains everything. And I pulled the ring out of my pocket, some of the sticky icing smeared on the metal, and without thinking, I licked it clean. The moment it touched my tongue, it dissolved like cotton candy, and the same warmth rushed through me, only stronger, much stronger. And that was when I realized somehow I had eaten her grief over the next 5 years. I turned this strange thing into a kind of business. Not officially, of course. You cannot exactly put grief eater on a business card. But word spread. Among the desperate, the process was simple. Someone would bring me an object tied to their dead loved one, something soaked in their pain. I would consume it, and the grief would vanish for them. I charged based on intensity. 1,000 for a parent, 500 for a sibling, 250 for a grandparent. Pets were a flat 100. The pricing was not scientific, just based on how much the grief would mess me up afterward. But what I never told clients was that the grief did not disappear. It stayed. Inside me, 78 dead voices, a constant background whisper. I called them the chorus. At first they were just faint like a television left on in another room, but over time they grew louder, more demanding. The whispers turned to conversations. Conversations to arguments, arguments to pleading. Let us out. Let us see them. We miss them. I ignored them. The warmth of consuming grief had become addictive, better than any drug, and I had tried plenty. Then one rainy Tuesday, a woman brought me her brother's baseball cap. He had killed himself 3 months ago, and she had not slept well since she asked if it would hurt. I told her not her when she left. I locked the door and shoved the cap into my mouth. The bitter taste of sorrow made my eyes water. I chewed faster, wanting that warmth, but this time something was different as the last threads dissolved. I heard a man's voice say, finally, and then my hands were not my hands anymore. I tried to move, but nothing responded. I was conscious, but my body was being driven by someone else. "You have been so selfish," the voice said, "keeping us all in here, not letting us reach them." Panic surged. This was my lifelong nightmare possession. The chorus took my client list, practiced speaking in my voice. They tested movements, tested faces, and before long, they had a plan. Over the next 3 days, they visited 7 of my clients, each time letting the newest voice take control to convince loved ones to hand over more grief-soaked objects. Some were suspicious, but most believed they were speaking to their dead relatives. My body would show up unannounced. My mouth would say things only the dead could know. My hands would take journals, wedding rings, photographs, clothes, and my mouth would consume them, adding each new voice to the chorus with each object. They grew stronger, and I shrank, pushed into a smaller corner of my mind. By the 4th day, I only surfaced for minutes, usually when they were sleeping. I tried everything to fight pain, alcohol, smashing my head against the wall. Nothing worked, they just laughed. Then I remembered my own grief. The deaths I had never processed: my father's overdose, my mother's suicide, my friend who died while I was out buying more drugs. I pulled up every memory, every regret, and pushed it into the mental space the chorus occupied. They screamed. They had only ever been echoes of grief, never its source. My grief was alive, powerful, and it crushed them. Some voices faded, some shattered. and for the first time. In days I could move, I dragged myself to the bathroom, saw my bloodshot eyes in the mirror, and realized they were my own again. I knew they might return, so I opened my medicine cabinet and took the pocket knife my grandfather had given me, an object, full of grief, but also love. I ate it, focusing not just on the pain, but on the joy, the pride, the memories, and in that moment, I understood the truth. Grief is not just pain. It is love with nowhere to go by consuming only the pain I had been creating. Hungry ghosts. The chorus went silent. I gathered every grief object I had ever kept and returned them. Some people were angry. Some begged me to take their grief back. But I refused. Each return lifted a weight. The voices grew fainter. I moved, changed. My number stopped taking clients, but people still found me, instead of eating their grief. I listened, told them, grief is love, that healing does not mean forgetting. One man brought his daughter's teddy bear. She had died of cancer at 7. He begged me to take the pain away. I sat with him for hours, listening to stories of her mismatched socks and bravery at the end. And when he left, still holding the bear, more voices faded, replaced by peace. I still hear the chorus sometimes at night. But they are memories now, not masters. I am no longer a grief eater, just someone learning to digest my own grief and to help others carry theirs without losing what matters most.